Ready to call this meeting to order, 2 o'clock. Good to see everybody. Go ahead. I'll check. We're going to need a roll call.
Mr. Davis?
Present.
Mr. Farmer?
Here.
Dr. Miller?
Here. All right, thank you. Do we have any agenda items that need to be added?
Yes, I've got an item to add to the agenda: discussion or consideration of acquisition of real property for public purpose, or of the disposition of publicity held real property for discussion in an open meeting that adversely affect the bargaining position of negotiating strategy of the public body. Legal authority, Virginia Code Section 2.2-3711A3, subject: Old Blair's Middle School property. Purpose: discussion of potential disposition of publicity property.
That's closed session.
Should that be made by a member of that committee?
Yes. Is he not on this committee?
I don't know.
It's Miller and Farmer Davis.
Well, yeah,
Mr. Davis could just adopt his motion.
okay, he will. On my computer, I'm on it, but I know I'm not.
Yeah.
Everybody can see it like the membership is on.
Yeah, for clarification, there's obviously been a typographical or somehow we've made an error. Our sheet that we took off Mr. Warren's appointments in January differs from the adopted minutes in January. So we have to go with the minutes because the minutes were approved. So unfortunately, we believe going into this meeting that the committee was chaired by Mr. Farmer, included Mr. Dudley. Instead, the minutes reflect that Mr. Davis is the chairman and Mr. Dudley is not on the committee, but Dr. Miller and Mr. Farmer make the other two members of the committee, and we are greatly sorry for the confusion.
I just got kicked off the ball. Ain't no sense.
Well, Mr. Farmer or Dr. Miller could say they wish to adopt that motion. I'll make that motion.
Second.
So we have a motion and a second. My question is, are all the members correctly presented that are supposed to be on this particular committee?
We need to do it.
The members as reflected in the minutes also.
Is Mr. Davis, Mr. Farmer, and Dr. Miller on the property bill?
Okay. Thank you. All right. All in favor of that? Let it be known with an aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay. Can I have a motion to approve the agenda? So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Okay, all those in favor, let it be known with an aye. Aye. Passes unanimous on both. New business, action item ID 2180, CARES Act funded county building projects update. Morris.
So for those of you that haven't met him, this is Nick Morris. He has been hired to help us implement all of our CARES Act CRF grant funds. Since we have him, I'll tell you, he is a retired Marine and former commandant of the Hargrave Military Academy. And he is on with us at least through July of 2022. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Because he's also heading up our reassessment project.
Lieutenant Colonel, right?
Lieutenant Colonel Nick Morse.
Thank you for your service.
My pleasure.
Gentlemen, thank you for allowing me to be here today, and we'll give you not necessarily a quick update, but a fairly thorough but concise update on where we are with the CARES Act. I'll go through the first couple of slides, which will just give you an overview, and then each one of the bigger projects I'll get into detail as we go through. Like all good Marine Corps briefs, say bye. Mr. Van Harvey. All right, in progress right now, we have several projects out there. The key elements for the CARES Act project, as most of you know, is that as of this time, other than a few housing and urban development projects, funding must be, has been given, and then the project must be completed by 30 December 2020. Our big major projects that are in work are the election center, which is at Depot Street, just down the street, turning that into a modern election center. Our multi-use building space, which is the ECC auditorium over at the school board area, turning that auditorium into a place where boards, whether it's yours, the county board, the school board, public safety, can roll in, set up, plug in, stream live, or televise, whatever's needed, and make that happen pretty quick and simple. Our HERT EMS station, off the very first exit as you go north in the Motley area on 29 North. Touchless sink and commode fixtures. Treasurer's office, Commissioner of Revenue, and the Community Development Office are all getting new storefront areas which will protect both them and customers that come in COVID compliance. And then the Commissioner of Revenue is also getting a sink in their break room because they have not had that, and they can't wash and clean their areas as appropriate for COVID containment. See if this thing works.
You might have to cut it on the side, see the other side, flip that forward, now try.
There we go. In planning, we have touchless light switches. The reason why those are in planning is there's a delay in ordering pieces and parts due to COVID virus and the supply line right now. Our public safety offices, as we move the old elections registrar office out of the old library in front of the lofts, it will become the public safety office, and so the plans are in work and it's being priced right now to make that usable for public safety departments, so they're consolidated into one area. And then we have automatic ADA compliant doors for the libraries. Every one of the libraries, when this started before I came on board, had Lisa Toot and her team had put together a wish list and identified the needs. Chatham Library is the primary. It's the only library that we have, according to them, that does not have an ADA compliant door. So that'll be the primary one to get fixed, and then the others, as funds become available, will improve their doors for touchless systems entry for COVID compliance ADA. We're also looking at the Moses Building HVAC. So one of the challenges as COVID is being transmitted, it's less through touch and mostly through aerosol in the air, and the number one assistance in that is an enclosed air conditioning system with no fresh air ventilation. If you'll look at the Moses Building, the nice part about it is you can walk down the street, look at the front of it, and count every air conditioning system in it, all hanging out the window. So we're trying to find a way to get an air conditioning system in a 1930s building that's both efficient, effective, will have IR filters in it, the UV filters for that, along with fresh air circulation. We're still working on a second contractor tour of the building. That's the one we do have a quote on it, and it came in, the initial one came in over $400,000. And that will completely remove the old boiler heating system, put in fresh air, put in basically mini split style system. ERV is kind of the only way we can do that system, but it's because of the price being above $100,000, it requires multiple quotes. So I'll meet a second contractor out there tomorrow to see what the reality is on that price and being able to get it done on time. And then our port services, I just toured with the contractor this morning. They're getting a storefront also that will provide them a second window. Their offices right now are combined into one window. When customers come in there, citizens come in, and so they're moving to a storage building. We'll put a second storefront in, ballistic glass for their protection, but everything else will look normal. And I'll have a timeline on and where he is on that budget tomorrow, maybe Friday if he takes his time. So our modern election center, $500,000 again is our budget for that. Again, Depot Street building. If you've walked by and seen that, I hope you weren't hit by a piece of falling stucco or whatever was on the outside of that. Solex is our architecture out of Danville, Virginia, with Blair's Construction being our general contractor, and River City Systems is our ABI IT installer. Really, we want to provide a clean, modern election center that allows them to have a secure vault, early voting area, regular voting area that's COVID compliant, drop-off and curbside voting availability, and it will also double as a multi-use training space, both in the front and their training room in the back. We will maintain probably 8 to 10 rooms along the side for storage for county departments, paper files that they have to keep forever. Really, that whole thing's gonna be removed, that center line's gonna be removed, and we're gonna open it up. This is what the front will be looking like, so we'll bring right now, if you were to drive by, you'd see that little slack wood in there, it looks kinda nasty and, weather beaten. That'll be removed, windows will come back in. We'll have access control on the doors front and back, and additional exit in the rear. And then, inside, you can kind of see how the reconfiguration of this is going to go. Again, fairly not working with not messing with the bones and structure of the building itself, other than cosmetics, moving some walls inside and making it very useful. Right now, we should be about $100,000. There's a timeline that we're expecting. We started demo on Monday. We ought to be completed with this, really, to be honest. I'm thinking no later than the 1st of December, barring any significant structural issues in there. And we're anticipating being under $100,000 under budget for this project right now. That's including our HVAC costs. There's 6 units on top of the ceiling and on the roof. 3 of them are over 20 years old, so we'll replace those. The other 3 are good. Our multi-use space, the ECC auditorium renovation, again, the goal is to turn this into a place that if you call up and say, we're having our meeting tomorrow, special meeting, that you'll roll in, have some comfortable chairs, connected tables, and the ability to live stream in 4K out to whatever channels that is deemed necessary. Budget $200,000. We're going to remove some of the old stage, not the complete old stage, but they have an add-on there that will go away. If you've been in that building in a while, the dinosaur jerry-rig light systems that are back over the entryways will go away, and we'll have a sound booth on the floor level in the back. First 6 rows of chairs will go away, and it becomes stackable, movable chairs. So the tables will look somewhat like these, only much nicer, and they're called nesting. So you'll shove them out of the way so the school board or someone else can use that as a multi-use training space when there's not a board meeting. If you show up, all you have to do is plug it in. So as you look at that hashed area in the front, right in the middle is where the current chairs are that will be removed. They're kind of the big addition to this piece, other than that avionics that we're putting in, and IT is, is right back over here. We're putting an ADA bathroom in. So we are taking one office away from the school board offices over there to put one ADA bathroom in. They've got 2 huge restrooms right as you come in, but in order to go in there and make those ADA compliant, it'll cost us 3 times as much to remove tile, move fixtures down, and try to match it up. And then along with security, what we'll have is we're building a storefront foyer, control foyer right here, and then one right down here, so that as citizens come in or other folks for the meetings, they'll be kept to this piece but still have the emergency exit ability. And then this whole area in the front where the chairs are, again, that's multi-use, so we can move that around. Tables much like we have here, just much nicer. Some of what the tables will look like, items are right there, items and chairs. Lumbar support ventilated chairs for the boards. We completed our stakeholder. The hazmat inspection was completed on that. Design is complete. We're going to start demo. Really the same crew for Blair. Solex is also doing the design on this. Blair Construction is moving right over after as they move phases through there. The Depot Street building, and then River City again is tying right in for our IT setup. This one, based on cost right now, we're looking at being about $60,000 over the budget with that bathroom going in. We're working some costs between furniture and some of the AVI items to see if we can pare that down. But right now we're tracking on that. Again, this one's a fairly simple structural repair with no real demo being in, other removable chairs and the configuration of that office into a bathroom. Everything else will be cosmetic. Fix some plaster, paint some walls, pull up carpet, sand the floors. Per EMS station, probably our biggest challenge in this package of COVID spending, $500,000. Again, it's off the first exit going towards HERT, generally known as the Motley exit. Solex Architecture has the design and engineering confirmation on that. we don't have a general contractor, but J&L Trusses out of Chatham is doing the building, and it's almost like a packaged pole barn type, metal on the sides, metal roof. And they'll do the slab for us also. And then we're in the process of selecting a separate interior contractor to finish out walls, electrical, plumbing of that. VDOT is completing the deeding of the property over to us. The last letter of request from the county went to them today. They're expecting it to take about 2 months, but we have a memorandum of understanding that we can, as we move forward, go ahead and complete the site work on that for erosion control and septic tank. Water will come from the county. We actually cross Highway View Road. See if I get to the next, which is, so you got Highway View Road here. This is the convenience center. And then you got 29 rolling around here. So we have a well for the housing addition right up here. And Public Works is going to make sure we feed and bore into the road to get water to the site. So that'll help us on our costs there. The yellow hashtag as you look on that slide is where the drain field is for our septic, and then our proposed position for the building, it'll be a drive-through building, is in the yellow and is the blue hash. This is what it'll look like. Again, our challenge with this is getting through the site work and slab work in the building by 30 December. We think we're fairly confident that slab work in the building frame can go up. J&L Trusses, when they put up the building, it'll include everything except for the drive-through doors and then the interior configuration. So we may have at 30 December, our plan is that we're going to have a building up. Probably won't be paved, it'll be gravel, but it won't have the interior finishes. That's our challenge, and that's where we're pushing for. That's our one. That time is of the essence, and we're going to get us. It's a pretty tight schedule to get a building up, ground up. Using a package building with the proper engineering bands up top, we can meet all codes and do it rather quickly, but still meet standards. Again, this will be our biggest challenge. Cost estimating, 420, that's pretty high right now. The cost I have laid out on this is really running us closer to about 342. I don't have any site work cost estimates back in yet. So I'll build in a little plus on that on the 420. I don't think there's any problem coming in under budget with this. Again, the style of building, what we're doing with it. My concern is just timing, trying to get the push enough to get it done in accordance with requirements. Our Commissioner of Revenue, these next ones, you're going to see a similar picture. It's going to come all the way through. Really what you'll see is that the prices are a little bit different, even though it's the same style of design for each of the offices because of the space needed to fill out. So we're doing storefronts, again, to make it safe. So you as a citizen comes into either the Commissioner of Revenue, the Treasury Department, the Community Development, or the court services, you're going to come up to a window that'll have a speaker in it with a filter on the back, either a pass-through underneath, if you're the community development, so you can get all your plans underneath, or a pass-through drawer, kind of what we call a banker's drawer, for forms if you're in one or the other. That way there's less contact between you and the employees on the backside. The employees don't have to worry about transmitting or receiving any sort of COVID or flu or cold. And then for some areas like the court services, they'll have the ballistic glass to be for safety and security. $13,000 for the Commissioner of Revenue includes a secure door because they don't have anything right now that protects them from the citizenry if they want to decide to just walk behind the back. So it'll have an electronic strike lock, so secure door, but and there'll also be ADA. One portion of the counter will be lowered so that anybody comes in a wheelchair, they can actually fit. And then dividers between each of the citizens so they can go in there. This kind of shows you the style, what we call a storefront style. Like I said, some places will have a drawer, so the plexiglass will go all the way down to the counter. All of our projects have speakers in them, so they can communicate clearly, even with masks on. And then the community development will have what this shows is a pass-through to get through. Here's your banker drawers, just for FYI. Again, $13,000 for the Commissioner of Revenue. It's a really big, complex, kind of multi-phase counter rebuild. The commissioner, revenue is also getting that break there with $2,800. They found our, J. Holmes is doing this work for us, and they were able to go find the boiler room is close by, so we're gonna run water through the boiler room in the ceiling, water and power, and get it over there, get a sink put in so that our employees over there can have, clean up after themselves, clean up after their meals, and not have to carry their dinner down to the restroom to clean up. This should be done fairly quickly. He's got, Jack has the parts ordered and they're gonna be in, we're expecting the 6th of October to begin that. They're anticipating maybe a week to complete it, if everything goes slow. That total budget, $15,800, is for both the $13,000 for the storefront of the commissioners and then the $2,800 for their assistant. Community development, again, $3,700. That's storefront again. They've got the pass-through. They're gonna do keep the area up so as you walk in with your big set of plans, you don't have to walk around the door to meet them. They can get it to you underneath. Sliding glass windows for a couple sides if you bring in too much. Maybe you bring in a model of the house, you can get it in there. Again, the pass-through. This is kind of what theirs will look like. Pretty simple speakers, easy to go. Give it a good clean front. Right now, our buildings and ground crew did a great job in March of getting plexiglass and 2x4 frames up. Absolutely looks very good, but this will be professional. Every one of these will be bronze, either bronze or white aluminum frames, depending on what the decor of the office is. So it'll be secure and look good. Then again, they're supposed to start the renovation of their customer service area on the 6th. This is being done by MR. Dishman, thank you. I just blanked. I apologize for that. Dishman and Sons. They're also doing the revenue office, not the same, but the revenue office. And then the treasurer's office is being done by A1 Glass the County Glass out of Danville. They're getting the rest of their parts. It's funny, they got their glass, they got their speakers, and they've got the aluminum framing in about a week. It all came from overseas. They have aluminum connection pieces that came from Georgia, just outside of Macon, Georgia, and they've been waiting on that since, what do you tell me, the end of April. So they are here. We got the shipping notice last night, so it's on its way. Again, the same thing as everything else looked pretty good, and then they'll have a security film on that glass for that is the addition. A little bit of a little more complex framing required because of the office style, and then 2 release buttons on with the doors so that you can sit behind the desk and buzz someone in if need be. It adds to the cost above the others. Again, we're hoping to start on that on the 12th. We may start a little sooner since they called us yesterday and said those parts are on being delivered. Hopefully we'll get started, but no later than the 12th. They should be busy building. And that seems to be the end of my thing. Out there we also have, like I said, we're waiting on quotes for the doors, sliding doors for the library. Our other delay has been our hands-free sinks, faucets, and water fountain pieces. Those have been delayed out to, receiving those parts from overseas have been delayed out to second week of November at this time. It's paid for. The nice thing of going through all the government documents over this weekend, trying to figure out where our limitations are, any trip-ups we might have, is we are good. If our parts are ordered, then we're extended out to the end of June for completion of the project. So if for some reason hands-free pieces do delay out, we're good there. We should not get penalized, and I've got that in copy and part of the print, so I'll hold to it. Any questions for me on this project?
Any questions, Mr. Farmer?
I have one. Thank you for the presentation, very well presented. The $400,000 on the sheriff's office for the AC, I support it. But also the question in future meetings later today, we're talking about a new jail. Is it wise to invest that kind of money in building it? What's the use of it in a few years? It's just a question.
So currently, our jail design does not include sufficient space for administrative offices for the sheriff. We'll have offices for all the accessory staff that go with the jail, but right now, the Moses building is in the long-term plans,
That's what he knows.
including the courthouse. Yeah.
Tim?
Any other questions?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
I actually got a couple. These projects that are running up to the deadline, what, if they come in under budget? Well, I don't want to leave any money out. Because we've got some projects laying in wait in the event someone do come in.
So, tomorrow is the 30th. Yep. As of tomorrow, every project, and how many are there, 164? CRO? We have 164 approved projects. All 164 have to have a report tied to them tomorrow. That report will anticipate how much money they will spend in the entire project, will they be over or under budget, and how much will they spend by November 15. That will give us a better understanding is, does this project have a chance of getting completed by the December 30th deadline? We plan by this time next week to have a better understanding of where we are and what additional projects can be funded due to inability to complete or under budget. So there's a good number of projects in the deferred status by this time next week, maybe in the approved status based upon those reports.
I think I heard Ms. Mark right, that what I heard you say was we probably won't know about the Moses building by tomorrow because you're waiting on other bids being supplied.
Correct.
I mean, we're flexible on that part, correct?
Yes, the Moses building has probably got the least likelihood of getting funded as any other project because it is so darn expensive. And I had this conversation with the sheriff and his leadership staff. They put their priority on the in-car computers. I fully anticipate by this time next week, the computers will be funded. I do not anticipate the HVAC will be funded this time next week because it's such a big number. The good news is there are some big pieces that are going to be turned back in. We know there's an ambulance that's not going to be purchased. We know there's $110,000 of testing that we gave the Virginia Department of Health that will not be used. So some big pieces going to be returned. The question is, will it be enough to do all these big projects?
Mr. Marks, I know you mentioned something about 2 entrances at the ECC building.
Yes, sir.
That building sets with that auditorium, there is a back entrance.
Correct. And that would be for board only.
Hold on, that was my question.
Yes, sir.
Because that makes parking better, because all the board and staff can park on one end and leave the other parking for the public. So,
And it does provide us, again, it provides us a little added security as we talked through with, I had a sheriff deputy walk over with me, one of the sergeants, the school board, just kind of talk, hey, what ifs? What are you concerned about with this? That's one of their items that always has an exit, rear exit away from the general audience.
can you bring up the Hurt EMS building floor plan? I was looking at something I thought looked curious to me. It looks like you got bedrooms with access, and I'm assuming they're bathrooms based on the way the fixtures look.
Yes, sir.
Are they the bathrooms also for the general public? Because I don't see any other just general public bathrooms.
Well,
And if so, I guess they're gonna be unisex bathrooms?
well, how the public safety director manages crew, my guess is, he only anticipated having one ambulance up there at a time. It's designed for expansion as needed, for 2, or maybe a sheriff's deputy car or a fire truck that parks up there. Their plan is to have one side female, one be designated male. Is my understanding, talking with Mr. Slim.
And we certainly don't. So we're not building this building with public consideration.
I would think there's more.
Correct.
Well,
So that'd be your female, that's your male.
but here, I'm just saying, I'm not trying to change it, I'm just saying, here's your living area. you go into the restroom, this one is non-used for anything other than having to go through the bathroom. That seems like a problem layout. If you've got people sleeping, other people in here,
They need you.
they
There is
could
one
have to
right
go.
here. But I would suggest putting a toilet in and get rid of one of the urinals,
Yeah.
and that would solve that problem.
Yeah, or put a door, you know, access a door somewhere, that's what.
That's a good one.
You know, just food for thought, not trying to rebuild the wheel.
You know, there's 6 toilets in this building that will never be occupied by more than 2 people at a time.
Well, if you've
So
got,
I can slim down on that.
well, I mean, I'm just, some people like price. What I'm saying?
Why don't we throw a neutral gender in there too?
Well, we got 3. And we'll definitely take a look at that.
I mean,
By the way, just so you know, this is a floor plan we co-opted from another place. We didn't pay to have this done, which is saving us time and money. But those are legit observations we need to consider.
Well, I mean, I just think from the living quarters to be able to go into a bathroom without having to go through a bedroom. That's just something I noticed.
Any other discussion? I would like to welcome you aboard.
Thank you, sir.
Vet to a vet. I'm used to high and tight, but you showed it high speed, low dragon.
Yes. I'll tell you, you need to slow down a little bit, I done got out of breath.
Yeah.
That.
We got a colonel, now we got a lieutenant on the team now, some sergeants, PFCs.
We have a specialist that's coming later today during the
Yeah.
solid waste meeting.
But thank you for your service, Mr. Marine, because I enjoy dropping you guys off on the beach, going back home. That's what I enjoy. Thank you.
I enjoyed it.
Appreciate it.
He's
I
a
appreciate it.
combat helicopter pilot.
Oh, he is?
Yes, sir.
Oh, good gosh. That's what I'm talking about. But anyway, thank you.
He could drive his own self.
He drives his own. Yeah. Very excited, need to set up a new, gyrocopter. But anyway, thank you. Thank you, officer. All right.
Barrel? Yeah, I think so, about a barrel.
Action item B, action item ID 2181. Now we get to wonderful opportunities to listen to the courthouse elm trees and listen to discussion. Mr. Hicks.
Okay, we have a concern about 2 elm trees in front of the courthouse. We also have a note from Drew Horn, who is the senior forester for this area. And I'll just read it. Where he said, I think the treatment is helping them hold on, but they're so old and damaged from storms and poor pruning over the years, it may be time to start over. And what started this, there's a short time frame where we can get up to 50% of the cost to remove the trees, up to $6,150 per tree, and a $200 fee to cover the cost of putting back a decent species on site. So there is some concerns over the status of the trees and our liability if limbs fall on people, cars, and everything. This time we would request the guy. Committee, right?
Any discussion from the committee members on this?
Can you repeat the cost one more time? I didn't hear.
No, they'll fund up to 50% of the cost, to remove this tree, up to $6,150 per tree.
That's a grant.
And, $200 for each tree.
Replacement. And the 6 per.
And there's a very short time frame on that money. I don't know if you saw, let's see, the town of, let's see, Chatham just got funds for removal of several trees and everything. So there's a short window we have to. But you don't have to take it down anytime soon. We probably should, put our hand in the pot. You don't have to do something with it eventually.
what's the nature of the board?
Mr. Chairman,
Okay.
I would personally support removal of the tree without having artists do the testing. You can't put a tree back like that, that's that beautiful and been there that long. I mean, you know, if it's a safety issue or, you know, it's a detriment to something, then certainly. But so we know that for sure. I mean, that's just, you know, that's a historical building, and that's a part of the landmark of that. You know, I mean, I've heard rumors, I don't know if any of that's factual or not, but, I do think the tree sets, you know, a really aesthetic picture of a historical courthouse like that. It's got to go, it's got to go, but I would hope we would do the testing before we opt to just cut it down. And I'm all for getting the name and hat so we get the money.
I don't think we tested it in a long time. You know, saying maybe they had quite a lot of costs involved in that.
Yeah.
I know the old Hughes home, I don't really want to have to take theirs out and all of them just about. And when they cut them out, the whole center was hot. So, you know, if it comes back and the center's hollow, then you gotta do what you gotta do. But if it's solid, why, I mean,
If you apply for the money, do you have to use it?
I think you got to apply by a certain date, I think. Time,
Well,
you don't turn it back in if you decide to dump it.
will they pay for some of that money being used for the testing?
I can find out, I'm not sure.
Do we want to recommend it to get it on the agenda for the October meeting? And then so Richard can give us an update?
I think we can just go ahead and test it. We don't need to
Yeah.
organization for that.
Yeah, and we might be able to get a state resource to help us do that, whether it's State Forest Service or something like that, but we can definitely get them tested and concurrently apply for the money. And, if it comes back negative, at least we're prepared.
I mean, and I don't know how, I mean, obviously the judge said it was safety or something, but, I mean, you know, I'm willing if she wants to weigh in more and listen to her opinion on the issue, if it comes back healthy, you know, if she still has the opinion it ought to be removed, then, you know, I think she ought to have some influence.
So your motion, it would help you if your motion just said, committee.
We don't need action right now, we just get it tested, and, you know, we report back to you, we'll go ahead and make application for the fund, just in case we need.
How often is a tree trimmed back? Is it ever?
It was trimmed,
I think we
trimmed
trimmed the year
mine,
before last.
yeah, within the last, certainly 3 years, maybe.
Okay.
There's still a bunch of dead limbs. on
Yeah,
the top, you know.
I'm just wondering if we've had any kind of liability.
We had to take off the
If you don't take it down, you're gonna still have to,
Yeah.
even cut some of the limbs down, because they're dead, so. We will report on that.
Thank you. Matters from the committee members. We have any? Mr. Hunt, going into closed session?
Yes, we're going to closed session for the 2 matters that are, one matter's on the agenda, one that was added. The first item is discussion or consideration of acquisition of real property for a public purpose with the disposition of publicly held real property where discussion of open meeting would adversely affect bargaining position or negotiating strategy of the public body. Legal authority, Virginia Code Section 2.2, 3711A3, subject matter jail property, purpose, property acquisition, discussion. The second item uses the exact same code section in it. Subject matter is Old Blair Middle School with the same purpose, except this would be property disposition discussion.
We have a motion on closed session? So moved. Second? So. All in favor, let us know. Aye.
All right, we'll go around the room because we got be it resolved that the Property Building Committee meeting of the Pittsylvania County Board of Supervisors on September 29, 2020, the committee hereby ratifies or certifies by recorded vote that the best of each committee member's knowledge, only public business matters lawfully exempted from the open meeting requirements of the Virginia Freedom of Information Act, and identify the motion authorized to close the meeting were heard, discussion, or considered in the closed meeting. If any member believes that there was a departure from the requirements of the act, he shall so state prior to the vote indicating the substance of departure of the statement shall be recorded in the minutes. I want to make sure we have these right. Mr. Farmer?
Yes.
Dr. Miller?
Yes.
Mr. Davis?
Yes.
Now I will entertain a motion to recess the building and property, the property and building committee.
So moved.
So, all in favor? Been on by an aye? Aye. My recess is being adjourned.